Hey, what is up guys? So we are going to be doing a deck profile on the Synchro Magnet Big One Quasar deck that I played. And it actually is a pretty fun deck. I really enjoy playing these synchro heavy decks where it basically goes all in, no fearing the back row, and it just tries to make, Quasar just a huge field to the point where your opponent can't really do anything at that point where you just have too many good cards on the field. And the way I've designed this deck is to try to make it as fast as possible. If you want to make it a little bit more competitive, I would probably suggest you to play MSCs because, then these emptiness is a thing. But, I decided to play without them for just, the sake of making it as fast as possible. Also, because there are so many decks, for example, like Evil Swarm or Constellars, where if they go first, even if they go second, and you don't throw up like a Quasar, sometimes you'll just lose because a Pleiades is a very hard card to beat with, a Synchro deck. Obviously, Evil Swarms, it's just not even fair at all. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the deck profile. I'll explain all the choices as we go along. And I also will add in the description box below how to actually make Quasar. I mean, there's so many different ways to make Quasar. I'll put a few down below in the description box. But if you guys know any other ways to make Quasar using these cards in this deck, like name what cards you need maybe on the field and in the graveyard, or what cards you need in your hand to actually pull off a Quasar, and I'll add it to the description box below so then we can kind of share the different ways to actually make Quasar. I know that there are different builds of Quasar. I know there's builds where you use Road Warrior and the Unknown Synchron, but I'm going for the Synchro Magnet build, so just use the suggestions from this actual deck because I feel like this deck can actually make Quasar pretty consistently, and Synchro Magnet is just a crazy card, and this is basically the inspiration for this deck. But anyways, let's get started with the deck profile. So first off, Big Daddy BLS, he's the best card ever, so gotta put him in here, and there's tons of targets to get him out. Next up, Double Quickdraw. This card is basically used just to discard a card sometimes. Sometimes you just need to get that tuner into the graveyard, and that's basically all you need Quickdraw for. Sometimes he can get in the way, so just be aware of that when you're trying to go for your dopple tokens. If you don't have, the spots for your dandy tokens or something, then yeah, it kind of sucks. But basically, Quickdraw allows you to also not only go for a Quasar, but it usually allows you to make not only another Synchro monster, but if you're able to make something like a Quasar, maybe make like a Crimson Blader and get something, killed, and then at that point you basically win. Or just even a Drill Warrior just to recycle your Dandelion or recycle any cards that you want to recycle. It's just a fantastic card also to make Drill Warrior, simply because it accesses Quasar even easier. Sometimes your opponent might, negate, your TG Hyper Librarian or something like that. They might negate something, and you're still able to make a Quasar because of Quickdraw Synchron. But next up we have 3-Junk Synchron. Basically he's used in, I'd say, like 99% of the time you're making Quasar, it involves Junk Synchron. But he's also a Dark Tuner, which incorporates the addition of Beelz, the King of Dark Dragons, which basically shuts down a lot of decks. I mean, if you make this against Dark Worlds, Dark Worlds have very limited things on what they can do because they rely on destruction effects, and he can't be destroyed by battle or by card effects. So they can special summon Graph as many times as they want and get Graph's effect, but like, how do they get over this card? There are some decks that just simply can't get over this card. So there's also another addition to this deck, so I can actually get over Beelz. Orient Dragon, this card, it just gets over Beelz, basically, is what it's used for. But it also works as a stepping stone to make another monster, whether you Lava Eater off of this to make it level 5, then you can go Synchro for Quasar, and you also get rid of their stuff. Maybe you're just going for an OTK. That also does work. Next up, we're playing 3 Synchro Magnet. This card is basically, like I said, the inspiration for this deck because someone posted this card on a forum and asked why no one uses it. And I'm like, well, I have no idea, sir. I'm going to go ahead and make it myself. So Synchro Magnet is actually pretty cool, and I've never seen this card before, and I figure out that it would work really well in Karakuris. I'm actually going to be doing a Karakuri build Synchro deck where it uses Synchro Magnet, and it'll probably be a Karakuri deck, unfortunately, because the way I see it is, I'm not sure if it like misses timing or anything, but when you activate the Karakuri monster's effect, most of them just like, as soon as they're special summoned, you go special summon Karakuri. So if I can special summon this and get a Karakuri monster, I can just Synchro right back into a Karakuri monster and then get another one and then Synchro Magnet again, and obviously you guys can understand it's basically just OTKs. But the way I see it is Quasar is kind of better in one sense, because if your opponent activates something like Battle Fader against your Karakuris, if they have a follow-up play, sometimes you can just lose, especially if you're playing like a Karakuri deck that is just kind of one of those instant fusion all-in builds. So that's just one thing I like about a Quasar deck, is you have something to follow up on if they happen to stop your plays. Next up, Dandelion, fantastic card. I don't really feel like Lone Fire is necessary at all. Lone Fire it's pretty much unnecessary in the deck. The way I see it is Lone Fire can get you like cherries, it can also get you Danny, but I want to discard Dandelion is basically what I want to do with it. You can also add Foolish Burial if you want with it, but I like the ability just to be able to discard. There's a bunch of cards that you can discard, or I guess this one is you send one, so it doesn't count as discarding, but basically it just gets the monster in the grave, so then you're able to junk Synchron and get Natura Cherries. Basically, you need to get a level 1 tuner, and then you go off with Dopple, and then there's I'll leave, like I said, the combo in the description box below. But next up, I play 3 Dopple Warrior. It's basically used to make Quasar. It gets you the level 1 token. That basically allows you to go for your Formula Synchron, but there are other cards like Level Eater, and there's this card that can allow you to go for it. What's cool with a lot of these cards is like, well, like all the cards are not limited like once per turn, so you have a lot of options in this deck to make Quasar. If they happen to get like one card, you're still able to make it. But if they have double back row, then that's usually the time where it's like, you have to, you know, just no fear, or just wait until they destroy their own back row for whatever reason. Or maybe if you have the option, you can go for like a Black Rose play. Next up, I play 3 Maxi because it's another target with Junk Synchron. And if you really wanted to, you could maybe Level Eater off of something else, and then somehow you'll be able to make Dark Diviner if you really want to. I figured I'd just mention it. You can also play Magical Merchant. This allows you to make Dark Diviner really easy because Junk Synchron plus the Insect would be Magical Merchant. But Magical Merchant a little bit slow, and I wanted this deck to be as fast as possible since, you know, we got that tuning reprint. Hopefully we'll get a Quasar reprint relatively soon, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys will be interested in playing this because Quasar, let's be honest, it still has one of the best effects like ever. I mean, Judgment Dragon's pretty good, and Judgment Dragon's probably easier to summon, but with the right hand and, you know, with the right draw power or the right sackiness, with like if you mill a correct card with tuning, you could make it pretty easy in this deck too. Next up, Double Level Eater. It allows you to go for Quasar. Basically, I really like Drill Warrior. You can opt to play Junk Archer if you want. I mean, you just have to eat level twice, or you maybe have the right monsters with like Armory Arm or something like that. You can still probably end up making Quasar. But yeah, it's just a fantastic card. Plus, it's, you know, dark, so more food for BLS, obviously good. This card really does help a lot. It's just a monster you can keep on bringing back. It's like the Treeborn Frog of the deck, if you will. Next up, 1 Spore because, you know, it works pretty well with this. And the thing with Lone Fire is like having a level 4 tuner definitely is good. I mean, you still have Dandy as another target, but like I usually want it to be level 2 because it acts kind of like as a stepping stone to make something else. Next up, 3 Cherries because you need a level 1 tuner to usually pull off a Quasar. That's relatively easy, but you can probably pull it off. There's probably so many different ways. Next up, I played 2 Big 1 Warrior, and I played 2 Jester Confits. The thing with Big 1 Warrior, you have to send 1 level 1 monster, except for this card, from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand. So basically, you get rid of a level 1 card. Usually I like to get rid of Level Eater, or maybe even Spore. That also works, or even Effect Failure. But the thing is, I mean, technically, I know it's minus, and Jester Confit basically you need a level 1 monster on board a lot of times just to make either the Formula Synchron or go into the play so you can actually get your last level 5 monster or level 6 monster, however you're making the other monster to go for your Quasar. I know you're going to be discarding Effect Failure, which, like I said, it can be minus, but there are other cards that you can discard which can definitely be plus, or cherries. But if you really have to, don't be afraid to discard Effect Failure. I mean, if you're making a Quasar, like, it's okay. You can go, like, basically all in, and if you make Quasar successfully and it doesn't get negated, usually you can still win anyways. So basically this card, both of these cards just special summon themselves. Just this card, you're getting rid of 1 card and can help you in some ways. Next up, 1 for 1, because it's 1 for 1. It's amazing. You should play it. Next up, Reinforcement of the Army, and 3 Upstarts, 3 Tuning, and 3 Hand Destruction. I know, like I said before, this is just like an all-in build, and I really like this build because, like I said, a lot of times you can still get one thing negated, and you can still kind of make it just because you have Synchro Magnet, and there's no limit to how many Synchro Magnets you can use per turn or something like that. Same thing with Big 1 Warrior, same thing with Jester Confit. Although you can only control 1 Jester Confit. I mean, if your Synchro gets negated, which you usually will use him anyways, if you have the other one in hand, then you're good to go anyways. As far as the extra goes, I'll mouse over. I'm trying to think of anything that's really important. You could opt to play 2 Catasters, but Armades is really good. I like this card a lot. Levier is also very important because you can still use this card for XYZ, so if they like Effect Failure or Junk Synchron, and you happen to have something banished already, maybe you BLS, maybe you activated effects of Spore, maybe you're still going to be able to go for Quasar. You just need to go for Levier to get back the right card, you know, and then after you get back the right card, maybe you'll just be able to either make a huge field or, like I said, make Quasar anyways. I just like this card so much. It's amazing, and I gotta make Harakuris with this deck. Zenmanes is, you could probably drop this card to be honest, but sometimes there are times where you have to go on the defensive side, and I mean, this deck isn't really built for that, but sometimes, you know, originally I was playing Tour Guide because you guys know how much I love Tour Guide, but the thing is, Tour Guide is not a tuner, so it doesn't really work too well. If Tour Guide was a tuner, it would be a lot better. As far as other cards you can play Unknown Synchron and Road Warrior if you really wanted to. That's just another option. If you really want to sack, you could try Cup of Ace. Dark World Dealings isn't bad also. And I know Hand Destruction, I mean, some people argue that this card's bad. It technically is a -1. But the thing with Hand Destruction is, if you make a Quasar, like, it really doesn't matter how many cards your opponent has in their hand. Usually. I mean, some decks, yes, it does matter because they can just, you know, go and explode. But some decks, it doesn't really matter. If you basically stop their first summoning from going off, they don't really have any more plays. There's a lot of decks, like, for example, I'm trying to think like Black Wings or Six Samurais. Like, if you basically negate like one of their effects or whenever they're trying to do something, like, that's the extent of their play. They don't have any like double summons in their deck or something like that. Or even like Madolches. If you have a Quasar out, they go for something like Hoot Cake, activate effect, and then you're like, no. And if you go Angeli effect, you go no. And then what play do they have with that? Other than back row, obviously, and obviously you negate back row Quasar anyways. Like, they don't really have a follow-up play. There's a lot of decks that just don't have a follow-up play, so Quasar is just really good in that aspect. 3 MST because if you know, want to make it more competitive, like I said, Vanny's Emptiness would make it so you pretty much automatically lose because all the monsters are small, they can't really run over anything. If you want to, Drunk Archer. Oh, this card is pretty good with Dopple tokens because it boosts his attack up by 800, which is pretty nice. I mean, at that point, you're 3100 and you can run over a lot of stuff, and then you have the 2 Dopple tokens to attack for another 800. So at that point, it's almost like 4000 damage on board, and if you're able to throw out, like, you know, more stuff. I mean, even if you throw out like a Synchro Magnet and then, I don't know, you probably figure it out. Like I said, I'll leave a bunch of the combos in the description box, and you guys can add to it, and I'll add it into the description box later. But have some fun with this, guys. It's just more so a fun deck than anything. I wouldn't say it's like a high tier 1 deck, but I mean, let's be honest. If you get Quasar out first turn, a lot of people just quit, and you can't really blame them for that because it's very difficult to deal with a 4000 monster that can attack twice and that can negate anything except for Super Poly. Basically, is what it comes down to. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Like I said, if you guys know any other combos with Quasar that aren't in the description box, hey, definitely let me know, and then I will add them to the description box. But hopefully we'll get that reprint for Quasar soon, guys. You guys ask me all the time, when is Quasar getting reprinted? I honestly thought it was going to be coming a lot sooner, but it's just not happening. I feel like as soon as the tuning reprint got announced, I was like, Quasar's going to get announced pretty soon, guys. So hopefully we'll get it relatively soon. I know it'll happen. It'll happen, guys. I know some places don't even have Quasar printed once yet, but you guys will get it eventually. But thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day. Asian Eyes out.